What is up, YouTube? We're here with another episode on our 600 horsepower B-Series LS VTEC build. So we are going to be showing you how to put pistons in, pretty much get your pistons we're getting our last two pistons in this block. Already done two pistons, we got two more to go. So we're going to start by getting the cylinders cleaned. Once we get the cylinders cleaned, and then I'll show you the ring compressor I have. It's a really nice compressor. It's very easy to use, guys. So it's a Wiseco's new compressor. Alright, so now you guys can see these are the two cylinders we have. Like I said, we already got two in the holes. So we got to clean these cylinders up before we put these in. So you use automatic transmission fluid to do that. I don't know why, but it works. Maybe the detergent, I guess it's got detergent, some type of detergent, but it cleans very well. I'll show you. So you want to wipe these cylinders until there's no dirt coming out of them. As you saw, the cylinder was dirty. So I got some rags here. I don't know if I got enough or not, but sorry about the dogs barking, guys. Both cylinders are clean. So we are going to put our piston in. This is the new ring compressor. It's one size. You have to buy it for the size of the piston that you're working with, as this one is an 81 millimeter stock bore. The code on it, if you guys can read, it's RCS 808-100. So that's a 81 millimeter. So all you do is you set that down on there, put your piston and everything in, and you just push it right in. It doesn't take all that clamping with make sure everything's perfect and got to get it in there and beat it in. No, watch how simple this really is. So we have our new rod here. I just clocked all the rings. The rings are where they're supposed to be. So let's see here if I can lay this down just for a second. Some oil on this thing. Cylinder up really good. Got my hands off. Okay, so when you're installing this dot goes to the front of the engine. Okay, so our intake side's on the back of the motor and our exhaust side's on the front, as you can tell with the exhaust valves are smaller, so you got a bigger gap here. The intake valves are bigger, so you got a smaller gap between, so it kind of helps you figure out which way they go if you have a problem looking. But we are going to oil this oil ring up. All these rings. Got out of oil in my pumper here. Okay. Can never use enough oil. Doesn't reach all the way around. Just make sure you ring. Some oil on the skirts. So you got everything oiled up really good here. So we're gonna put this toward the front here. Make sure that's right. Make sure that ring is right. Double checking everything, guys, to make sure everything is correct. Good. Okay. So what I do is just kind of set it down in there. I'm going to set this down in here. I have to push this down just a little bit. Sorry about the dryer if you guys are hearing that. Now the skirts of the piston actually hold it in line where it's supposed to be. So you just got to make sure you're all the way good here. And then I didn't check my crank, guys, but you got to make sure the crank is all the way down. If it is not all the way down, please make sure it is. If not, you'll hit the crank. You'll hit the crank and scar up all your work you just done. All right, so we're all the way down. Crank's all the way down in this hole. So hope you guys are ready. This is how easy it is. Get it down here. It didn't even go in, did it? What the heck? This will do the same thing. Okay, the rod was slid over on it, guys. There it went. Just pops right in. So you can actually use your fingers instead of having to hit it with a hammer and do all that and damage it and scratch it up or whatever, you know, if you're worried about that. So now the piston's in the hole. I'm gonna have to turn this thing over. Hope I don't hit my camera. Okay, so we're on this hole here. Everything's been cleaned on this already. It's just oiled down. So we have our bearing in here already on the rod. Give this a nice little wipe down. It's got engine oil on it. I sprayed it all down with engine oil after I was done installing it, just to make sure nothing happened to it. So let me get the rod down here. I'm just pulling it up here, guys. Okay. There's no lube on this. We got to plastic gauge it. So, get the plastic gauge here.
don't know if the camera's gonna pick it up. So you see that? That's plastic gauge. This is what we're using to check our bearing tolerance. What we'll do is just lay this across the top there. Okay. If you can see that, we just lay it straight across the top. Okay, so we're on this hole here. Everything's been cleaned on this already. It's just oiled down. So we have our bearing in here already on the rod. Give this a nice little wipe down. It's got engine oil on it. I sprayed it all down with engine oil after I was done installing it, just to make sure nothing happened to it. So let me get the rod down here. I'm just pulling it up here, guys. Okay. There's no lube on this. We got to plastic gauge it. So, get the plastic gauge here. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick it up. So you see that? That's plastic gauge. This is what we're using to check our bearing tolerance. What we'll do is just lay this across the top there. Okay. If you can see that, we just lay it straight across the top. Okay. Don't know why that fell out there. But we have to make sure on each side there's a notch where your bearing went in. Those notches have to be on the same side. There's the notches over here on this side. So we're gonna flip this over. Plastic gauge is still in there. Okay. Drop that down on there. Now we can't turn this at all because that'll give us a false reading. We'll try not to turn it. Harder said than done, really. Okay, got our torque wrench set to 43 foot-pounds. That's what these are supposed to be set at. Dang it, and that thing turned already. Good thing it wasn't tight. Shouldn't affect it until, once it's tight is when you don't. Let me get on the other side, I can't get it. Trying to turn on me. Yeah. There's 43 on that one. I know I should be holding the head on this thing. Okay, 43 on that one. So now all we do is have to loosen it back up. Now, bearing tolerance on these are 9 millionths to 1.5 thousandths. That's the standard bearing clearance. Maximum clearance on this is 2 thousandths. Okay, anything bigger than that is very not smart to run. Pretty much the crank would be garbage. So let's see what we got here. We're probably at like a 1.6 on that journal, a 1.6, 1.7, which is completely fine because remember we did polish these, so we took a little bit of material off of them, which is completely fine. So now, everybody has all these problems getting this plastic gauge off. It's really not that difficult to get off. I used a little brake cleaner and a rag, and it comes right out of there. It melts it right out. You just got to rub on it and it will come off. And then just make sure you get your surface clean, because any of this gets behind the bearings, it's like it'll immediately make the motor fail. So completely clean now. We clean the cap here. And the bottom cap up here, the rod bearing, the other half of it, pretty much. Getting it all cleaned up. All I'm using is a rag and brake cleaner, guys. That's it. Comes right off. I don't know why everybody says it's just so terrible to get off. And they're like, oh, you got to just sand it back off. No, it comes right off with brake cleaner. So unless they changed it. So that bearing's clean. This is ready to go. So guys, now if you want to see how to torque this down and use the rod bolt stretch gauge, please check in on my next video. We're going to show you how to use this to tighten these down properly, so you get the max tensile strength of your bolts, and you can actually guarantee that your motor is not going to come apart or have a failure here, because these are the most stressed bolts in the engine. I mean, we ask a lot from that little bolt right there. I mean, we're talking, we're going to put 600 horsepower down in this engine, and we expect these two little bolts to hold roughly 150 horsepower per cylinder. So you really got to have these correct and do exactly as they want, so that way you don't have no failure. You don't want to have a failure, you know. I mean, the mistakes are expensive, guys. So check in on my next video if this helped you on how to get your piston in your engine a little bit easier way than using a traditional spring compressor. So check in on my next video where we'll torque these down, and I'll show you how to torque these down. So if this helped you guys, please like, subscribe, share. It helps my channel grow, and we'll see you guys on the next video.